Hello, and thank you for joining me today for the Parent Essential Skills Curriculum Training. This first part is going to discuss what essential skills are and why they are important. We're going to start off with some introductions, then we're going to discuss what essential skills are to get the same understanding and a working definition. We're going to discuss why essential skills matter, barriers to skills instruction, and strategies for skills instruction. My name is Kara Blakey, and I'm a curriculum consultant at Pairin. I'm currently pursuing a master's degree in education with a focus on counseling and career development, and I've taught secondary English for 5 years. The brains behind this curriculum is Dr. Tara Laughlin, who is the Director of Readiness Curriculum at Pairin. She earned her doctorate degree from UNC in 2014 and wrote her dissertation on 21st century pedagogy. She's a certified K-12 English language arts teacher. She taught elementary school for 7 years and secondary for 3. So we're going to start out by taking a moment and reflecting. I'd like you to think of what are 3 skills that you possess which have helped you to get where you are in life today. And this can be personally or professionally. So take a moment to think of those 3 skills. All right, so as you reflect on those skills, I'd like you to think about how many of those skills were academic skills, meaning skills that you learned in a math class, history, science, or English class. Were all 3 of your skills academic? How about 2? 1? Were any of your skills academic? So hold on to some of those answers. We're going to continue with our reflection questions by thinking about what challenges our students face inside and outside of the classroom. Feel free to pause the webinar to continue this discussion. Now take a moment and reflect upon how American schools, yours or otherwise, are currently addressing these challenges. Feel free to pause the webinar to continue this discussion. All right, so we are going to move on to discuss what essential skills are. So please take a look at this image in front of you. Here we have a series of terms, starting with character education, non-cognitive traits and habits, social and emotional skills, growth mindset, 21st century skills, soft skills, and grit. Please pause the webinar to discuss your understanding of these terms. These skills we are referring to today go by many names, often leading to confusion. Are you familiar with 21st century skills, character education, non-cognitive skills, soft skills, social and emotional skills? Do you feel that these terms are synonymous, or do they each have a slightly different meaning to you? Please pause the webinar to continue this discussion. Each of these terms has been widely criticized for one reason or another. For example, calling skills non-cognitive implies that they don't require the use of one's brain. We know that this is clearly not the case. What is generally agreed upon among proponents in all camps is that these skills are essential for student success, hence Pairin's term, essential skills. Additionally, some of the terms, such as 21st century skills and soft skills, are intended to encompass a wider range of skills than others, such as character education, which focuses on a narrower selection of skills. By contrast, Pairin's list of essential skills encompasses all of these separate concepts into one comprehensive framework. Before showing you Pairin's framework, I'd like you to consider skills which you feel are important in the following 4 categories. Professional. What skills would students need to know and be able to use in order to be successful in a professional setting? Entrepreneurial. What are skills that students would need in order to thrive in an unstructured, constantly changing environment? civic, or social? What skills would students need to know in order to be effective members of society? And personal, what skills would students need to know to be mentally and emotionally healthy? Please pause the webinar to continue this discussion. All right, so here we have what Pairin refers to as the 4 buckets: professional, personal, civic, and entrepreneurial. And within them lies 5 essential skills. We will go deeper into these essential skills during the curriculum overview. You also have available to you through Google Drive a list of each essential skill and their sub-skills. Here we have a Wordle that shows you all of the different essential skills and sub-skills Pairin has to offer. You'll notice that some words are larger than others. These words imply words that are used multiple times throughout the skills curriculum. All right, we're going to move on now to discuss why essential skills matter. I'm going to show you a series of graphs and charts, the first one being this employer skills preferences. When interviewed, employers said that these skills below are skills that they are looking for their employees to possess in order to be successful in their working environment. The black words represent essential skills, and the pink words represent academic skills. You'll see that regardless of whether entrants are coming in with a high school diploma, 2-year college or technical diploma, or a 4-year diploma, all employees feel that both essential skills and academic skills are necessary for their success. This graph shows trends in occupation types. The purple lines represent kind of these non-routine or very analytic, higher level thinking careers, whereas the green, gray, and blue lines represent very routine, manual, tedious careers. And you'll notice that since the 1960s, there has been an increase in jobs that require change and higher level thinking, whereas occupations that are more routine and manual have decreased since the 1960s. This map here represents states that have become part of some sort of skills initiative. As you can see, most of our country has agreed that essential skills are a very important part of the academic curriculum. The yellow states represent Ed Leader 21 members. The darker blue states represent the P21.org partner states. The lighter blue states represent the Readiness Project members, and the purple states represent members of 2 or more skills initiatives. All right, this image here reflects a 20-year study done by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, where researchers followed a group of students for 2 decades, from when they were in kindergarten till 25 years old. When the students were in kindergarten, researchers interviewed them to kind of get an idea of how well they have developed skills such as responsibility, helping others, integrity, and so on. And what the researchers found was that students who demonstrated being proficient in those skills in kindergarten tended to continue to develop those skills throughout their academic and adolescent lives. Whereas students who kind of showed low skills in kindergarten continued to have low skill development throughout their academic and adolescent lives. And what they found was that students who increased a point or grew in their skills were 54% more likely to earn a high school diploma, 46% more likely to get a full-time job by the age of 25, and 2 times more likely to earn a college degree. Whereas students who showed low skill and did not increase or move up on the rubric, showing that they have learned those skills, were 67% more likely to be arrested, 52% more likely to become binge drinkers, and 82% more likely to become drug users. So in summary, students who possess essential skills early on and continued to hone in on those skills led much more successful lives than students who did not. So let's reflect. I'd like you to decide among the skills that you see in front of you here, which 3 you feel are the most important for student success. Once you've chosen those 3, rank them, with number 1 being the most important skill and number 3 being the least. Afterwards, I challenge you to then go convince one of your colleagues that your 3 skills are the most important. Please pause the webinar in order to have this conversation. All right. We are now going to discuss what barriers exist to teaching essential skills. So what is stopping us? What barriers do educators face which prevent us from focusing more intentionally on these skills? Please pause the webinar to brainstorm a list of ideas. Barrier number 1. When we asked teachers about the barriers that they found to teaching essential skills, we found 5 overwhelming answers. The first being, can these skills even be taught? Can we teach a student how to be cooperative? Can we teach a student how to show empathy? The answer is yes. Schools all around northern Colorado have adopted our curriculum and have had success in teaching these skills. Barrier number 2, my job is based on academic growth. As teachers, we are faced with multiple standardized tests throughout the year, with our jobs being linked to the academic growth indicated on those tests. So the idea of teaching a skill that is not essentially being assessed kind of seems unproductive. However, studies show that when teaching skills like organization, cooperation, self-restraint, students tend to pay a little bit more attention inside the classroom, which means that they are learning more, they are interacting with the material more, and thus performing better on those assessments. If you take a look at this graph here, you will see that it contains a unit of story elements. This is graphed of pre and post assessment data from when Dr. Laughlin and I conducted the teaching of 4 essential skills within the context of a story element unit. You'll see that the pre-assessment data looks pretty typical of what you would see for a pre-assessment. However, after we taught the content alongside with the skills, students were then able to collaborate better with one another. They knew what kind of higher level questions to ask, which, as you can see by the means gained, showed that students were almost proficient or above proficient in all of our content categories. So this means that through teaching skills, students were able to interact with the material more, know what their expectations were, and thus performed better on their post-assessments. So let's reflect. I'm going to give you an essential skill. You are going to have 30 to 60 seconds to consider how the development of that skill would potentially impact your students academically. So let's start with the skill of self-restraint. I'd like you to close your eyes and picture a classroom where all students are able to restrain themselves. How would your classroom look? What wouldn't be happening with your students? What instead would be happening inside your classroom? Please pause the webinar to discuss with one another how a classroom full of students with self-restraint would differ and allow for you to teach your content. Barrier number 3, it would take too much time away from teaching content. So this kind of piggybacks off what we just discussed. Teaching skills is a kind of go slow to go fast method. Yes, there will be time taken to teach the skills. However, through teaching a lot of these essential skills, you will eliminate the amount of time spent on classroom management or behavioral types of discussions with students. So instead of taking time away, it is more so replacing the time that you would take to refocus classes or re-norm with your group of students. Barrier number 4, that is not my job. Earlier in the presentation, I asked you to discuss if it is the job of educators to teach these skills. And the answer is yes. While some of us may feel that it is the job of the parent to teach these skills to students, we cannot guarantee equity among students' families. We know that some students go home to dinner on the table every night, a caring family to help them with their homework, while other students may not know where their next meal is coming from or where they sleep that night. The only constant in these students' lives right now that is the same across the board is that they are coming to school. And so in order to make sure that students are learning these skills at the same level and evening the playing field, these skills do need to be addressed, taught, and assessed in the general education classroom. Barrier number 5, there is no way to assess these skills. This is a false statement. Pairin provides rubrics for all of the essential skills where you are able to assess these students. Now, the assessments do not look similar to assessments that you would see in a content area, meaning that we can't assess a student in a multiple choice way about their skill. The assessments need to be more observational, which are indicated on Pairin's rubrics. All right, so we are now going to move into the strategies that are effective in skills instruction. These strategies are very similar to the strategies used when teaching content. First off, instruction must be explicit, just as it is with content. Initially, you should use concrete protocols to teach abstract skills. You should ensure students personally understand the relevance of the skills they are learning, meaning a purpose should be set for each of the skills and how being proficient in each skill will help a student along the way. Gradual release of responsibility to the students for mastery of the skills is also an effective strategy, meaning doing the I do, we do, you do sort of approach. You should allow for repeated practice and application across contexts. This means that the skill should not just live in the classroom it was taught in on the day it was taught. So, an exit ticket for this part of the presentation, I ask that you reflect on these 3 questions. The best results for teaching students the essential skills comes when the adults in the building truly believe a few things. 1, the skills matter for their students, whether you are capable of teaching or reinforcing the skills, and whether you are willing to teach or reinforce the skills. Using the scale at the bottom of the screen, please respond to questions 1, 2, and 3 on a note card or piece of paper and deliver it to the administration in your building for us to collect when we come visit your site. Our sources are indicated below, and we thank you so much for joining us.